Good afternoon.
Well, Coach, you face a dual-threat quarterback. What are some of the challenges facing a guy like that who can impact the game in so many different ways?
That's funny you asked that. I'm not sure who keeps me up longer at night, my new twin girls or DeQuan Finn. Man, he's a very, very special player. You know, you can see why they've had success with a guy like that who can throw it, he can run it. He's extremely special. He's obviously vital to their offense and what they do. And I just have a lot of respect for that coaching staff as well. Coach Candle, he's done a tremendous job in his time there, and they were the MAC champs for a reason, right? And so I think anytime you're facing a dual quarterback like this, obviously we got to try to contain them. Like, that's the most important thing, to try to contain them, right? Limit the explosive plays. They have playmakers on the outside that could play in this conference, you know, and so they want to be explosive, and we have to do the best we can to limit that.
Who rose to the competition in your safety battle?
Pardon me?
Who rose to the competition?
Well, I'm still in the process of making those decisions. The guys that are in the running for it, you got Mac Resettage, you got Miles Scott, you got Nicario Harper, you got Clayton Bush, and you got Demetrius Hill. Like, those have been the guys who have been they've been truly standing out, and I'm all the way up until Thursday. You know, it's going to be a battle. You know, and so I've been trying to obviously prep all these young men for the game and just put them in the right positions. But I think at the end of the day, right, like, it's been fall. We've been working ourselves through fall camp and now transitioning to Toledo this week, and it's been a good battle. Been a really good battle. The guys, they've encouraged each other. They've helped each other. Matt Bailey has taken Coach Bailey, I like to call him, has taken a significant role in the room and coaching up a lot of these newer guys in our system, our scheme, and whoever we end up going with to start the game, you know, that doesn't mean that they're going to be the starter for week 2 or week 3 or week 4. You know, we all know the story of Kirby Joseph. His final year, he didn't start it, I think, until week 3 or 4, and he obviously ended up having a great season. And so I'm challenging these dudes every single day to just, if you're not the starter, to be ready when your opportunity is presented.
Miles, what really shows a receiver that made you want to move him over a safety? How did you want to make that transition?
Well, I think the first thing is just his ball skills. You know, I think when you talk about defensive back play, right, old adages, right, a lot of coaches like to convert wide receivers who can't catch into DBs. And I think here we try to flip that mindset a little bit. I mean, Miles has tremendous hands, and just the way he moved in workouts, the way he ran around, his size, his stature, you know, when you go to look at a room, especially a room full of offensive guys, just naturally as a defensive coach, you're like, oh, he can play defense, he can play defense, he can play defense. And Miles was just one of those guys that stood out. I mean, we had been kind of lobbying for this since last year, and Coach B thought he was coming along at the wide receiver position. Obviously, Coach McDonald did as well, and I just think in this day and time and transitioning him to DB, we felt like it was Coach always talks about putting the team first. We felt like it was the best thing for our team and the best thing for that young man, and he's really flourished in it.
The way you guys are talking about Xavier Scott, kind of reminiscent of how you talked a little bit about Quan last year. What have you seen from Xavier Scott?
I didn't want to share all those beans with you, but yes, Xavier Scott's special. Xavier Scott is extremely special. Xavier Scott has a chance to be as good as he wants to be. He has some tools that some of them are just God-given, you know. He has the ability to line up at truly any position in the secondary. You know, he's a very intelligent kid. I think, you know, anytime when you're going out to recruit a young man, right, you look for those innate tools to be able to lead, and you love young men who play multiple sports. And Xavier was a multiple sport guy, extremely competitive. I can remember going to a high school basketball practice and just watching him run up and down the court, right, and watch the way he communicated, watch how he led, watch how intense he was just during practice. And you transition now to him being in college, and he lost none of that. It's actually been elevated, you know. And so I know oftentimes we look at stature as coaches. We want them to be 6'3", we want to be this, we want to be that, and at the end of the day, do they have dog in them? And you saw that from that high school basketball practice, right? And now we've been seeing it here. And so I'm really excited for the young man. Obviously, he had some ups and downs last year, which I think is going to propel him into this year. We're just extremely excited for what's ahead for him.
Aaron, what does Tyreek give you at that Mike linebacker position, and how important is his ability to communicate more than anything else?
Tariq Barnes is probably one of the most underrated players in the country. First of all, he's lightning fast. He can run with the best of them. I'm not so sure he couldn't play DB, to be completely honest with you. That's how fast he is. He's highly intelligent, like highly intelligent. He can see things before they happen, right? He has great play anticipation, and he has tremendous versatility. You know, in our defensive system, you know, sometimes Tariq is on the line of scrimmage, and we ask him to play from the line of scrimmage. Sometimes he's a true cylinder Mike linebacker. And just his ability to lead, his ability to put his face on you. I mean, you talk about looking for a linebacker, like the standard of your program, like that's what you want. That's what you want to go out and recruit, right? Like he has it. He has it. And I think what ultimately makes him special is his ability to lead when it's hard, you know, and that may involve getting people's faces, you know, but I think he's commanded the locker room, and I think he's built relationships with our coaching staff and our players, that he understands that this is the last ride for him, and so he wants to make it his best. And I can tell you this: when he leaves, I'm gonna be sad, right? Because I think he's a very, very special player.
It seems like the outside backers are kind of in the spotlight against this type of offense. Is that a position where you feel like you got some advantage athletically and maybe size-wise?
Well, I mean, I would tell you, yeah, but that quarterback, I mean, he makes all the wrongs right. You know, like no matter what happens, right? Like even if you do beat the tackles, which they have really, really good offensive linemen as well, right? They got to tackle up for the Outland Trophy. I mean, they got a really good front. And so even if you do beat those guys, now you got to catch the quarterback, right? And so, like, I think our outside backers are extremely talented, right? I think they obviously give us they give us the ability to run around and play in space defensively, and I love what they do. But man, we haven't faced a quarterback like this yet. In my time here, we haven't faced a quarterback. We face guys who can run, but this guy can hit his head on a goalpost if he breaks free, right? If you watch the Ohio State game, Ohio State got a bunch of really good players on their roster, and I mean he looked like he was in a video game, right? He's running around, scrambling, shot down the field for a touchdown. Like he did that multiple times, you know what I'm saying? And so I think at the end of the day, we just got to we have to make sure, even if we are able to beat our man, like we got to understand our job description and our duty, and that's to contain the quarterback.
Input or banter does Johnny have when you guys prep for his brother?
Man, you know how Johnny is, man. Johnny is one of a kind, right? Like obviously Johnny loves his brother. He cares about his brother. But to him, it's a competition, you know, and just like how cool is it for his family to be able to come up here and witness this moment for him, right? Like mother and father, they're going to have two of their sons on the field competing against each other. Like it's going to be a really cool environment for him and his family and his brother, you know, but Johnny could be lining up against his brother, or he can be lining up against an NFL offensive tackle. He's going to have the same mindset, right? He's competitive as all get out. He's violent, he's physical, and he wants to show his peers as well as the rest of the country how talented he is, and he wants to put it on display. And so whether it was his brother on the opposite side or anybody else, we're going to get the best out of Johnny. So that's what I'm really excited about.
How much do you guys need a game and another opponent defensively to figure out who you really are, and how much are you ready for a game?
Well, we were ready for a game a week ago. You know, this time last year we played in week 0. And kind of looking at the calendar a little bit from last year, we were kind of chomping at the bit. But, you know, I think that, you know, early on, especially the first game of the season, there's always going to be things that you need to work on, things that you can improve on. That they say, like, the biggest improvements come from week 1 to week 2, you know. And so, like, watching the games from this past weekend, we pull out a lot of clips just to teach situational football to our players, right? We got a bunch of young guys on our roster. They're just casually watching football, you know, and just for all the young DBs out there, right? Like Caleb Williams at USC had a clip where he bobbled a snap, right? The ball hit the ground. You watched San Jose State secondary just run forward when the ball hit the ground because they assumed that it was going to be a fumble. He was going to kick it, right? Well, when they ran forward, the wide receivers ran down the field and they were wide open, right? So, like, I know that. I know that if you're in coverage, you should stay in coverage. But maybe Sabor Kareem, who just got done with high school, or Jaheim Clark, right, or Prince Ford, right, or Caleb Patterson, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they don't truly understand that. So to teach them that in a classroom setting, this is why we don't leave our man. If you're a middle of the field defender, this is why we don't leave our man. And so I think we're more than ready to play. I'm really excited about the opportunity to play. Will there be some things that come up that we have to get adjusted and get fixed? 100%. 100%, right? And the goal is to be better the following week. But I think at the end of the day, you always try to learn from those moments, and hopefully none of those moments be the reason that you lose.
Back at someone like Xavier, Tyler Strange, who got all those snaps, not only in the game, but like kind of the heat of a Big Ten West race. How much can that leapfrog them?
That was, right, like that was extremely vital, right? I can remember going into last season, I wrote everybody's name on the board, right? Just like in the order in which I saw them, being in the room, right? Obviously, Spoon was at the top of that list. And I just challenged the room at some point in time, right, when you least expect it, somebody towards the bottom half of this list is going to be called upon. Well, some guys who was at the bottom half of that list was Tyler Strain and Xavier Scott, right? Xavier Scott started versus the number 3 team in the country, right? Tyler Strain was thrown into a game versus Purdue, right? He ended up suffering an injury, right? But then comes Xavier Scott. And so I'm just challenging our young players and some of our transfer guys who haven't been on this stage. At the end of the day, it's still football, but I'm challenging them. If you are not considered the starter, I actually did this yesterday. If you are not considered the starter, yeah, be mad, be upset. That's fine. That's human emotion. I totally understand that. You guys are young men, right? Everybody wants to go out there and take the first snap. I get it, but you better be ready, because the way this Big Ten season, or the way this season kind of rolls out, I have yet in my Big Ten career as a player and or coach, or when I was coaching the SEC, I have yet, right, to have whoever the starters was, have them finish the whole season without nobody missing a game or nobody getting dinged up. It happens every single year. And so just trying to prepare these young men mentally, right, because we live in a world now where if you ain't a starter, guys want to leave and transfer, right? Well, all we doing is set them up for failure in life, right? What happens when you're a father? You just can't transfer, right, from fatherhood, right? Like it's a big responsibility. And so, like, just trying to teach these young men, you can't just run away from your problems. Sometimes you got to face them and deal with them. Now, I get the situation where guys do transfer. I get it, right? Maybe you've been at a place for 2-3 years and you're not playing as much as you would like, right? You can go down to a lower level or another level, right, to have an opportunity to play. But I think what we're trying to preach to our young men here at the University of Illinois is, like, we going to face some adversity. Like, that is innately a part of all of our DNA as humans. We're going to face it. But when we face it, right, do we run from it or do we run to it? Not to go on my soapbox, but I get kind of pumped up now.
Takeaways were a big part of the success last year, obviously one of the leaders in the country. And I know turnovers are hard to predict, but does this group have the same mentality of wanting to get the ball back and being aggressive about it?
Absolutely. That's been a point of emphasis for us in the offseason. Like, I think we had like 26 interceptions and we scored one time on defense, right? I know we had a fumble recovery, but I'm just talking about the interception standpoint. We ended up scoring 2 times total. But I think if you can turn those takeaways into touchdowns, you got yourself a different ball game, right? You also have yourself a different season. So the point of emphasis this offseason has been not only just taking the ball away, right? I think we've established that we can take the ball away. But once we take the ball away, can we get to the box, as the young boys say, right? Can we get to the end zone, right? Can we get to the end zone? Like, that's the goal. That's the purpose, try to get to the end zone. But, right, I think this team that we're playing against, the MAC champs in Toledo, I think they do a great job at making sure teams don't take the ball away, right? They do a great job on the perimeter, right? They do a great job there. I mean, their running back is extremely special. They got a bunch of skill guys. It's obviously going to be a challenge for us, but I think our guys will be ready for it.
How does Tyler Strain kind of play around his lack of size, quite frankly, and use that to his advantage, or just play up to that?
Right. So, like, I think when you have naturally when you have DBs who are a little smaller, they just pack a different punch. Maybe they're wired a little different, right? So Taz Nicholson, real name is Tavion. They call him Taz for a reason, right? He look crazy, right? He look crazy, right? We don't have that name for Strain, right? But his last name is Strain for a reason, right? Like he although he's small in stature, he gonna give you all he got. He's extremely physical player, you know, and for what we ask him to do from a job description standpoint, he does a tremendous job at it. You know, I think for what some of our guys lack in size, they make up for it in heart, the way they study the game, the way they study their opponent, the respect they have for their opponent, you know, and like, you know, some guys are going to be a little smaller, some guys are going to be a little taller, some guys are going to be a little wider. And so it's just when the ball snaps, can you show that physicality, right? Can you just put it on tape at the end of the day? And so I'm definitely excited for Strain, although he'll tell you he's 5'10", 5'9", right, and some change. But I just think what he brings to the table, just from he's also the fastest player on our team, right? Like he's lightning fast. Like the guy can run, you know. And so he may not be the 6'3" guy that most teams look for, but he makes up for that in a whole bunch of other areas.
Good? Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it, man.